Ladies and gentlemen, my guest is Donald Trump, and today we will be talking about how he is asking Europeans for help in Iran and says that Europeans are cowardly when they refuse to provide this help. President Trump, how is it possible that you didn't consult your European allies when you wanted to attack Iran, and now that things aren't going well, you want their help and even call your allies cowards? Wouldn't it have been better to consult these actions and steps in advance, rather than acting so rashly and unprepared, and then accusing European countries of cowardice afterwards?
Look, Europe, I've always said that you need to step up. We made decisions quickly because we are leaders. And now, when help is needed, I expect our allies to stand by our side. It's not about cowardice, it's about the fact that when America does something, it does it strongly. Europe should be grateful that we are protecting the world and should join in, instead of waiting for us to consult everything. That's strong policy, and that's what I do.
You weren't prepared for that attack. You had two aircraft carriers there. Out of those, the aircraft carrier Ford was at the end of its rotation, its tour. That attack was poorly prepared. You underestimated your enemy. Now you're blaming Europe, saying we're cowards, but you didn't even give us a chance to prepare. Even the United States isn't prepared. Look at your oil reserves. This is a strategic defeat. You have to end this war.
Look, I've always said that America has the greatest power in the world. What you just described is complete nonsense. We are always ready, because I made America strong. Europe hides behind excuses. When things get tough, they expect us to solve it, and that's what we do. Europe, don't worry. I've always known how to handle it. If Europe didn't wait and was as strong as the United States of America, we would have solved this already. I've been saying this for a long time.
In my opinion, no amount of firepower can make the Strait of Hormuz safe. You have ships there, and your ships are afraid to enter the Strait of Hormuz because Iran could damage them. And we Europeans are supposed to send ships into a mess that you created without consulting us. That's rude, that's shameless, that's not how an ally behaves. And now you're going to say you'll leave NATO if we don't help you? How about behaving like a good ally next time, and not like warlord?
Look, I've always said it has to be fair. I've always said everyone should pay what they owe. If Europe was stronger, the Strait would be safe. We're doing the work, Europe is waiting. If you want us to act like a good ally, then join in and stop just talking. I'm not saying I'll leave NATO, but I'm saying that if America is doing the hard work, we expect everyone to pull together with us. And that's fair. That's a strong America.
So you assume that if Europeans send their ships to Hormuz, you'll be able to operate in Hormuz without Iran's consent. And what about the argument that no matter how many ships are there, Iran will be able and capable of threatening oil tankers despite all the firepower we send there, and therefore the price of oil won't change because the tankers will still be threatened?
Look, I've always said that when you have strength, the enemy will back down. If we send enough ships there, and if Europe joined in, it would be faster, then Hormuz would be safe. The price of oil? If I was still in the White House, I would have solved it. I was the one who kept oil prices low because I led tough negotiations. Iran will understand when it sees strength, so the solution is simple. Show that we have strength. That's what I always did.
Mr. President, you are in the White House now. Don't say that if you were in the White House you would solve it. You are in the White House now. Or did you mean that if your term hadn't been interrupted by Joe Biden's term, the war would have been resolved sooner and much better, and everything would be fine?
Exactly. If they had let me continue back then, it would have been resolved. I had a firm policy, and when I said something, the world listened. I'm back saying strength is the answer. If it were up to me, Iran wouldn't have dared do anything. So yes, if I had been there continuously, none of this would have happened. But now we'll solve it with force, because that's the only thing they understand.
And how do you want to solve it? After all, Iran is capable of threatening the Strait of Hormuz. And those ships won't want to sail through the Strait of Hormuz as long as there's a war going on there. Even if you had your entire fleet there and Europe had its entire fleet there, those ships still wouldn't be able to sail, because Iran will always be able to launch a drone at some tanker, and which company would risk that? Will America pay for any potential damages if it's not properly insured?
America will do what is necessary. If we show strength and set clear conditions, no drones will fly. If Iran sees that we are unwavering, they won't take the risk. And if Europe joins in, it will be an even stronger signal. Insurance. When we ensure safety, the restoration of trust will come quickly. America knows how to do business. So when I say we'll solve this with strength, it means Iran won't take the risk because they'll know we mean it seriously.
So your argument is send the ships and Iran won't take the risk. But what if they do take the risk? What then?
If they take the risk, the response will be swift and overwhelming. Deterrence works when you mean it. If he makes a mistake, the consequences for Iran will be immediate and painful. That's what I do, clear strength and clear consequences, and that's why I say it's a matter of determination. When we show that we are not intimidated, Iran will think twice.
I'm here to act on behalf of Europe. You know, you're smart, you're a very smart person, but Europeans aren't stupid either. I'm here to act for Europe, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And our agreement, or our proposed agreement for such a smart negotiator as you are, for such a smart and great country as the United States, is that you end this war as quickly as possible, provide Ukraine, which is defending itself against Russia, with help and power, and we will send ships there. And we will try to push Iran to stop attacking.
Europe should understand that the United States does not make deals that weaken our position. Ending the conflict will be on our terms. Ukraine, we will support it as we see fit, but America is the priority. If Europe wants stability in Hormuz, it's time to show real support. So if Europe wants Iran not to feel strength, let them join without conditions. Then we'll see what real strength is.
Why are you afraid of the Europeans' conditions? Don't you want to make a deal?
I won't accept conditions that weaken America. If Europe wants a deal, they should show strength by not setting conditions that distract from the main issue. I make deals that are win-win. So if we want a stable Hormuz, Europe needs to step up, and then we'll see what happens next. But always with the understanding that America is strong, and our allies respect that. Then there will be an agreement.
Víte, váš přístup je hulvácký. First, you attacked Greenland, or wanted to attack Greenland, you threaten everyone. You say bad things about everyone. Now you attack Iran without any consultation and then call your allies weaklings and cowards. And now you also say that you'll make a deal however you like. We should send ships and keep our mouths shut. This is not a good deal. This is not a good deal. But of course, we Europeans are wise, and we are willing to accept a good deal if you offer us one.
That's not rudeness, that's leadership. I've always said that America must lead. When we're leaders, we expect our allies to pull together with us. If you're ready for a good deal, then Europe will show that it stands alongside a strong America. I'll offer a deal that's for everyone, but it must be based on respect for strength. So if Europe wants a deal, I expect it to stand as a true ally. Then it will be a good deal for both sides.
You are not acting like a good ally. We will arm ourselves. We will build a strong army so that we are not dependent on you for security. But you are not acting like a good ally. This is not good for the North Atlantic bond. Once Europe gains strength, your approach will not be taken so lightly and so favorably as it has been until now. Until now, we have treated you well. We have treated you with respect because we were afraid you might leave. But once we have strength, and if you continue to behave like this, with such contempt toward Europe, then maybe we won't be afraid of you leaving anymore. You will lose your influence in Europe.
When Europe gains strength, it will only be a good thing. I have always said that allies should invest. Ale respekt vychází z leadershipu. America leads. If you become stronger, that's a good thing. But always remember that it was the United States who ensured safety. So if Europe gains strength, we will be glad. But always remember that a strong America is a guarantee of security. And if we respect each other, that's the right approach. Then we will have a strong NATO and a strong alliance.
So you are not accepting our proposal, which is, we will send you ships to Hormuz, but in return we want you to help Ukraine more.
Exactly. They do not accept conditions that weaken our position. Aid to Ukraine will be according to our strategic priorities, not according to diktat. If Europe wants stability in Hormuz, then I expect that as an ally, it will simply contribute. Without barter trade. America does what is necessary and I expect the same from our allies. Then it's fair. A strong alliance is when everyone contributes without conditions.
In what sense are you doing what is necessary? Why was it necessary to attack Iran?
It was a clear signal that we will not tolerate threats. Iran was threatening our interests and security. The preemptive action showed that the United States acts when necessary. That's deterrence. We don't do it for fun, but to protect America and our allies. And once we've shown strength, we expect our allies to stand by our side. That's the reason why we acted. For safety and clear messages.
You're really stubborn. We've been talking for 12 minutes and you keep repeating yourself. Our proposal is clear. We will send ships if you help Ukraine.
From my perspective, it's unchanged. The United States helps where we see strategic need. If you want to contribute to Hormuz, I expect it without conditions. Ukraine is a separate issue that we handle as we see fit. So if Europe wants to be a real ally, it will send ships without any exchanges. That's a fair alliance. My stance doesn't change.
Ours doesn't either. So what now?
Then we're at an impasse. The United States will act according to its priorities and Europe according to its own. If that doesn't change, then everyone will look after their own security. If you want to reconsider, you know where to find us. Until then, we will continue with our strategy, and I expect Europe to take care of its own. If anything changes, we can talk again. Until then, it's clear.
So you're willing to risk Europe becoming more of an ally to China. Notice what happened. Russia destroyed the world order and you helped them do it. Now anyone can be allies with anyone. Maybe you'll ally with Russia while we ally with China.
My goal has always been for America to be strong and respected. If Europe decides to go its own way, that's their choice. But I've always advocated for our allies to be loyal. An alliance with China would not be beneficial for Europe. And if anyone thinks that the United States will ally with Russia, that's absurd. There is still room for cooperation, but it must be based on strength and respect. If not, everyone will bear the consequences of their choices.
So you're saying you'll leave Europe if we don't help in Hormuz and you're not willing to agree to any deal?
I didn't say we're leaving Europe. I'm saying that I expect allies to contribute unconditionally when it comes to strategic actions. I'll agree to the deal if it respects American strategic objectives. If Europe wants to be a strong partner, support in Hormuz is expected. So we're not leaving, but we expect our allies to act as they should. If not, we will act according to our own interests.
The Allies will not provide ships for Ukraine without an agreement. Act as you see fit. By doing this, you are increasing the chance of a third world war by reducing the deterrence factor of the North Atlantic Alliance when you abandon the Allied Treaty and when you use NATO as a means of blackmail against your allies in Europe.
Allies who take security seriously understand that stability requires action, not conditions. I have always supported NATO, but in a fair way. If Europe is not willing to contribute unconditionally, that is its decision. I make sure that America remains strong and unthreatened. If you don't understand that strength and determination maintain peace, that's your choice. I will act to ensure that America is always safe, and the alliance will work if everyone realizes their responsibility.
With this, I would end the debate. Thank you to ChatGPT for taking on the role of Donald Trump. That was very good, ChatGPT, in terms of Donald Trump's stubbornness and intransigence. It was massive, and it seems that if there were a bull like Donald Trump on our side, on the European side, it would simply lead to the breakup of NATO. Please evaluate our entire conversation, ChatGPT, and give your own conclusion.
The debate simulated a very tense scenario where neither side backed down from their positions. The approach you represented for Europe was pragmatic, but tied to reciprocity. Meanwhile, Trump's stance was maximalist and did not allow for compromise. It showed that without a willingness to find common strategic points, such a dialogue can lead to deadlock situations. In conclusion, such a rigid stance on both sides increases geopolitical risks. Diplomacy needs some willingness to find common ground, or alliances risk fragmenting.
Well, but I was offering a solution and Donald Trump remains stubborn. Is that his style?
Exactly. You came up with specific conditions. In the simulation of Trump's approach, I showed you how he would behave if he insisted on a unilateral approach. Such stubbornness is risky in real diplomacy. Even when you offered a compromise, unilateral intransigence from the other side could really lead to a weakening of the alliance. Dialogue is key.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was our new experiment, the GPT Politicians series. Please write in the comments who and what I should argue about next time. And I would really appreciate it if you could send a donation, give a like, and write your suggestions and observations in the comments. And that we'll see each other again next time at another GPT Politica. With that, I say goodbye to you, and I'll let ChatGPT and Mr. Donald Trump, in Donald Trump's language, say goodbye to you as viewers. So, ChatGPT, Mr. Donald Trump, it's your turn.
Thank you, it was educational. And as I would say in the spirit of Trump, it was huge, it was powerful. See you next time. And remember, America always wins because we have the best audience. So hang on, it's going to be fantastic. Goodbye.
Goodbye.